My life is full of my faults because I chose passion over industry. And a my fault is not the same thing as a regret. I love this description. A my fault is when you define success differently than the popular definition. It's a healthy, responsible acknowledgement that I could have experienced greater success, sure, but I haven't by my own choice, and I'm okay with that. A regret is when you don't define your dream or your enough, and you end up drifting someplace you never intended, never desired to go. That comes with lots of regret. If you've made it to this part of the book, you're done with regret. You're done being afraid of the obstacles between your day job and your dream job. You're done with other people's definitions of success. And depending how far along you are right now, you might just be done with your day job too. Chapter 8. Quit your day job. Eventually, I quit my day job. Despite having learned to appreciate the many things it offered and provided, despite having fallen in like with a job I didn't love, I eventually gave my 2 weeks' notice. I wrote it out on a piece of paper and held an "I'm clearly quitting" meeting. Unless you do what I did to Derek at Staples and throw a quitting grenade, most bosses know when you're about to turn in your notice. Hey, I was just thinking, let's get together for 30 minutes or so on Friday at, say, 4:30 in the afternoon. Why? No reason. Just want to hang out, talk about a few things. What? No, you don't need to prepare anything in advance. There's no agenda. That's not suspicious at all. Can't an employee unexpectedly schedule a meeting with his boss and bring a single sheet of paper to that meeting while sweating profusely without someone getting suspicious? Doubtful. If you've been deliberate and smart about how and why you're going to quit, the boss is usually expecting it. If, on the other hand, things are being thrown and you're kicking over whatever it is a barista would choose to kick over in a fit of rage, that's not the type of exit I'm talking about. Although I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'm talking about an intentional 2 weeks notice. You've transitioned from not impulsively quitting your job to falling in like with a job you don't love to starting small and slow on your dream. The question now is, how do you know if you're really ready to quit your day job? This scorecard is probably the easiest way to figure it all out. The "Are you really ready to quit your day job" scorecard. Number 1, you've patiently worked through your plan to quit and honed the dream you really want to pursue for more than a month, equals plus 1 point. Number 2, you've patiently worked through your plan to quit and honed the dream you really want to pursue for more than 6 months, equals plus 2 points. Number 3, you've patiently worked through your plan to quit and honed the dream you really want to pursue for more than a year, equals plus 3 points. Number 4, you've been thinking about quitting for about an hour and worked on your dream over a long weekend a few months ago at Sully's Lake House, equals minus 10 points. Number 5, you've already made the most of your nights and weekends pursuing your dream with every available free moment you have, equals plus 2 points. Number 6, you pursue your dream in between episodes of reality shows or when the mood strikes you, equals negative 10 points. Number 7, realizing your dream will require instant celebrity delivered via a wildly popular YouTube clip involving a double rainbow or a talking dog, equals minus 5 points. Number 8, you know a guy who did something similar to what you want to do, and it seemed pretty easy, equals minus 4 points. Number 9, you apprenticed with that guy for a few months and learned your dream job is not easy, but definitely possible, equals plus 4 points. Number 10, you've built up an emergency fund that can handle 3 months of not having a steady salary, equals plus 1 point. Number 11, you've built up an emergency fund that can handle 6 months of not having a steady salary, equals plus 2 points. Number 12, your financial plan is completely dependent on your car never breaking down, equals negative 1 point. Number 13, or your rent going up, equals negative 2 points. Number 14, or people expecting Christmas presents in December this year, equals negative 2 points. Number 15, Your financial plan is completely dependent on your kids living safe and not getting a stomach virus or anything else that becomes painfully expensive when you have no health insurance. Equals -5 points. Number 16. You've built a blog and are growing an active community that is engaged in helping you with your dream. Equals +2 points. Number 17. You're thinking about getting on the Facebook or possibly the Twitter one of these days. Equals 0 points. Number 18. Your spouse is completely supportive of your decision. Equals +5 points. Number 19. Every time you bring up the idea of quitting, your spouse throws up a little in his or her mouth. Equals -3 points. Number 20. You've used the phrase, "Why won't you let me follow my dream?" Equals -1 point for each time you said it. Number 21. You've ever thought, "I'm not married, Acuff, and I have no kids. Enough with playing favorites, you half-dead 35-year-old. Equals, fair enough. Moving on. Number 22. You've got a clear sense of what your dream looks like and know the next few steps to pursue it. Equals +3 points. Number 23. You kind of want to be a ballerina or maybe an astronaut or a race car driver. Equals -5 points. Number 24. Although you're nervous and perhaps a little scared about writing your 2 weeks notice letter, you feel good about the decision. Equals +2 points. Number 25. You are writing your quitting letter with such fury that you broke the Q on your keyboard. Equals -10 points. Number 26. Your backup financial plan, if things take longer than you expect, is to get a night job and hustle as hard as you can. Equals +5 points. Number 27. Your backup financial plan, if things take longer than you expect, is to win the lottery, capture a leprechaun, or find some pirate's booty inexplicably buried in the landlocked state you live in. Equals -10 points. Number 28. You skipped to this chapter without reading the rest of the book because you knew instantly, "I'm ready to quit. I know I am." Equals -50 points. Number 29. You've made a list of the things that are at risk if you quit and are willing to put those things in jeopardy. Equals +10 points. Number 30. Risk is for what negative people worry about. I'm living in the now. Let's just do this thing already. Equals -5 points. Number 31. You write dark German punk metal inspired poetry about how much you hate your job, but have not taken any productive steps toward making your dream happen. Equals -5 points. Number 32. Your dream job is so different from your day job that there's no way your boss or company would ever help you achieve it. Equals +5 points. Number 33. You love your day job and actually figured out how it can be a great place from which you can continue pursuing your dream for years and years. Equals -10 points. Number 34. You love your job and just picked up this book because you keep hearing that the author is really handsome and wanted to see for yourself. Equals -20 points. Number 35. You have a support network of friends and family members who will help you pursue your dream. Equals +3 points. Number 36. Your friends and family don't understand your dream, but they respect the maturity you've shown in pursuing it and are on board. Equals +5 points. Number 37. Everyone else on the planet is crazy. What do they know about my dream? I'm the last known wise person alive. No one can add a shred of advice to my dream. Equals -5 points. Number 38. You've ever said the phrase, "haters gonna hate," when receiving any feedback that is critical of your dream. Equals -5 points. Number 39. You've put together a detailed description of what your new workdays are going to look like. Equals +3 points. Number 40. Your plan for your new workday involves you listening to your heart and just seeing where the wind takes you. Equals -5 points. Number 41. You've been seeing a professional counselor who gave you some great advice. Equals +2 points. Number 42. You've been seeing a psychic who gave you some great warnings about something involving a raccoon and a tire iron. Equals -5 points. Number 43. You're aware that you'll probably work harder than you've ever worked when you quit your day job and follow your dream. Equals +2 points. Number 44. You look forward to all the free time you'll have when you follow your dream. equals -3 points. Number 45, you feel this is a decision that is in line with your core values or faith, equals +2 points. Number 46, for this to succeed, you'll need God to perform a miracle on par with the parting of the Red Sea at least once a week, equals -5 points. Number 47, you've been working toward this moment for months, if not years, equals +3 points. Number 48, you've been working toward this moment since you heard that really motivational song last week, equals -3 points. Number 49, you've spent the last few months practicing excellence at your day job, which will serve you well when you pursue your dream more fully, equals +2 points. Number 50, you've spent the last few months cultivating bitterness and your exit will be met with cheers, equals -10 points. Number 51, you're trying to pursue someone else's dream, your mother's, a teacher's, a friend's, etc., instead of your own, equals -3 points. Number 52, you saw the length of this scorecard and thought, that is so long and it feels like hard work. I don't like hard work. I just want to dream. Dream, I tell you, equals -3 points. Totals, fewer than 0 points to 10 points. You're a job lover or a serial quitter. If you manage to score negatively on this quiz, one of two things is going on. You love your job and are right where you need to be. Or you are a serial quitter and hate your job so much you haven't had a chance to love your dream. To the first person, I'd like to say bravo, but that sounds borderline like the friend you have who says ciao all the time, despite being from Ohio. So instead I say, congrats. You've got a job you love that loves you back and is structured in a way that allows you to work equally hard at both your day job and your dream. Or your job is already your dream. That's great. Not everyone on the planet needs to quit their day job. My friend Bob uses his job as a lawyer, which he loves, to fund missions around the world, which he loves even more. He and you are rare but awesome. To the serial quitter, I'd say, push pause. Your dissatisfaction might have clouded your vision to such a degree that if you quit right now, you'll just land at another job you eventually hate and start the cycle all over again without making any progress on your dream. Don't quit right now. Reread the Don't Quit Your Job chapter. 11 to 30 points. You're stirred up. Something is afoot. You've bumped into something that made you feel alive. Your dream is starting to percolate, and you've started to see that maybe what you're currently doing isn't what you really want to be doing 40 hours a week. You finished this book and were confronted with a lot of questions. Can I really do this? What do I really want to do? Am I hustling right now on the things that matter? You're not ready to quit your day job right this second, but you may have taken the first step toward a completely new adventure that will unfold over the next few years. 31 to 50 points. 1 foot out the door. You took notes in this book, not just with a pen, but with several different highlighters and a key to explain what each color means. You might have even purchased a case of this book and handed it out to all your friends, which I really appreciate. You've made some plans. You've worked on your dream job. You've got a few pieces in place. There are still a few that elude you, though. You don't have a big next thing lined up. Maybe your emergency fund could be bigger. You could spend a little more time practicing excellence at your job. As annoying as it is, this might be one of those moments like the one in Braveheart, where William Wallace yells, "Hold! Hold!" to his men as they crouch waiting for England's horses to barrel down on them. They want to stand. They are desperate to stand. But to do so too early would be disastrous. I encourage you to hold right now and get your final pieces in place before you quit. The exciting thing is that it might be a matter of months before you quit, not years. More than 50 points. It's go time. I'm not sure what you're waiting for. You've got a huge new dream-scented opportunity on the table. You're financially prepared. Your spouse or family is on board. You've spent the last few months, if not years, falling in like with your day job while you worked on something on the side that you love. There's a window that is closing, and if you miss it, it might not come around again for a long time. You've assessed all the risks and are making a decision that is motivated in wise hope, not nervous fear. It's go time. Quit already. Kick rocks. Live your dream. Now, clearly, that list was scientific. Depending on your score, you are 100% guaranteed to have the results I described. And if things don't work out when you quit, you should send me hate mail and feign great surprise that a scorecard that contains the word booty led you astray. Obviously, there's no such thing as a periodic table of elements for quitting. That scorecard gives you an idea, but what are the other ways you'll know if you're ready to quit? How did I know when it was time to quit? 6 reasons I quit my last job. Dave Ramsey approached me about working with him in June 2010. By the first week of August, we had moved from Atlanta, found a new school for my oldest daughter, and rented a house in Nashville. But that whole experience started with me quitting my job, which, as I've mentioned a number of times, I am awesome at. This time was different, though. I've always traded an old day job for a new day job. I've always left one situation I didn't love for another I thought would be different, but ultimately never was. So why in a period of 8 weeks did my wife and I make that decision? How did I know it was time to quit my day job and pursue my dream job? Number 1, we had somewhere to land. Just like in the rest of the book, the specifics of your situation are going to be different from mine, but the principles still hold. Whether you're breeding chinchillas or starting a nonprofit that fights against businesses that breed chinchillas, Soft Coats or Rough on Chinchillas Inc., you can apply these ideas to a host of dreams. For 2 years, my wife and I talked about my quitting my job at Autotrader.com. Our conversation intensified in some seasons and dissipated in others, but quitting has been a constant undercurrent to my work experience for most of my life. However, this was the first time in my 12-year career that I had somewhere to land that fit within my long-term goals of being an author and a speaker. This is the first time I wasn't just trading out a Granny Smith apple for a Fuji. Although I would have the security and community of being at a full-time job and an office environment, this would be unlike anything I'd ever done before. I wasn't just trading out my old day job, which I had grown to really like, for another. I was jumping to what felt like the right opportunity. Your dream might not be another job. It might be a chance to serve in a country you feel called to. You might get a long-term freelance contract that allows you to string together a year of work in the field you really love. Someone may place an order for 1 million chinchillas. When this happens, you have to be honest about whether you have somewhere real to land, somewhere that will actually support your long-term goals. Sometimes a situation doesn't present itself as an opportunity that will line up perfectly with your dreams. Sometimes it will just be a much higher percentage of dream time than you currently have right now. Will the new opportunity offer you a larger percentage of time to focus on your dream? If your current job only offers you weekends, mornings, and evenings to work on your dream, will the new job offer you a lot more? Could you work 4 days in the office and 1 day on your dream? The percent has to be dramatic because otherwise the risk isn't worth it. If your current job offers you 30 minutes at lunch to do your thing and a potential new job would offer you 45 minutes, it's not worth disrupting your entire life. I faced that situation the summer we decided to work for Dave Ramsey. A multi-billion-dollar company had an ad agency that offered me a job. I'd be well paid, have unique opportunities to work on interesting advertising projects, and only do 4 days of work a week. In addition to all the other perks, I had the chance to actually spend part of my work week on my own dream. That felt like a dramatic difference to me. I would have taken it because they offered me more dream time than Autotrader.com did. But the Dave Ramsey job offered me a far larger percentage of time each week to do the things I loved. There were certainly other factors involved in my decision, but the percentage of dream time is a good measurement to begin with when it comes to determining somewhere stable to land. Number 2. The opportunity fit our opportunity filter. Years before Dave Ramsey offered me a job, my wife and I discussed the filter we would use to find a dream job. When StuffChristiansLike.net took off, we had an inclination that Autotrader.com might not be my career's final resting place. So we started discussing what criteria the next opportunity needed to fit. This was helpful because it took the pressure off of looking for the perfect job, which is the equivalent of trying to find one needle out of a country-sized haystack, and instead allowed us to brainstorm the characteristics my dream job might possess. We both felt like it should be at a company where faith was part of the culture, not just something that happened in pockets. I didn't want to work at a church. I freelanced for churches for years. I have friends who love their jobs at churches across the country. My dad's a pastor, and it would be easy to think I need to follow in his footsteps. But I never felt as if a church was where I was called to be. I wanted to work in a team environment where I was surrounded by people all day. As a writer, I've never been great at the Stephen King sit in a cabin in Maine alone for 3 months writing a book gig. That's only one of the characteristics that differentiate the two of us. The millions of books he sold is the other. I wanted to work at a company where an individual had grown a personal brand successfully and humbly without getting lost in all the traps that leaders face. I wanted to stay in the Southeast. Although I grew up in Massachusetts, the South was now my home. As we started to discuss these factors, an activity that happened mostly in those Adirondack chairs in our side yard, we started to eliminate a lot of companies. We had that filter in place, and when the Dave Ramsey opportunity came up, we checked it against our criteria. Faith is a big part of the culture at Dave Ramsey, so that one passed the test. It wasn't a church, but it was actually a for-profit business actively involved in the marketplace. They had a staff of 300 people I'd get to interact with. I could still write and speak without doing a one-man show from my basement. And I'd be based out of Nashville, which was perfect geographically speaking. Dave has also spent 17 years growing a personal brand. He's got a huge radio audience, is a New York Times best-selling author, and has spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. And he's managed to not become a jerk along the way. That's no easy feat. One by one, our filter criteria were met, which helped us feel good about the decision to quit. It's important to note that the level of detail you put in your own opportunity filter will vary by item. For instance, some of them will be specific and measurable, like, we don't want to work at a church. That one was easy to verify and check off. Others will be broader and less defined, like, be at a company where faith is part of the culture. That's more difficult to measure. So as you build your filter, try to have a mix of both the specific and the broad. Number 3, we tested the dream before we quit. Although I didn't talk to Dave about a job until June 2010, I started talking with his team about working there in 2008. That was the year I came up and spoke to his entire team one morning. It was an amazing experience, and as I've mentioned before, I thought to myself, this is it. I called my wife and told her we were moving to Nashville because I was definitely going to take a job with Dave Ramsey's team. It turns out the job I was offered was the wrong fit in the right company. Then I talked to the head of publishing there about a different job. That one had the word coordinator in the title, which means I would have radically failed at it. So I told him that would be a horrible fit. A year later, they invited me back to speak again. The event went well, and once again, I drove back to Atlanta, having enjoyed the experience, but not certain I would ever work there. A year after that, they invited me up for a third time to speak, and that's when Dave pulled me aside with the job idea. When we were offered the job, we had already spent 2 years testing the waters before we quit. I'd spoken there 3 times, met dozens of people I'd be working with, and got a sense of the culture. Practicing the dream helped me feel good about committing to it. It's like working weekends on a local farm before you start your own, or designing free Christmas cards for all your friends before you open your own freelance design studio. When my dream job came along, it wasn't a one-day decision, it was a 2-year decision. Whenever possible, before you quit, make a point of practicing what you want to do with your life. Number 4, we had a support network. I think dreaming works best as a team sport. In order to grow your dream as fast and as far as it can possibly grow, you need people who will support you every step along the way. They might not be as passionate as you are for your dream. They might not feel the same degree of fire you feel, but you need people who in a variety of ways are on your side. Looking at our decision to move to Nashville and join Dave Ramsey, my wife and I knew we had that. I spoke in depth with my parents and my wife's parents. As a pastor, my dad has God's direct line. It's like the red bat phone, which is nice, so I had that going for me. Okay, that's not true. But having stepped out of everything he knew in North Carolina with 3 young kids to move to Massachusetts in the 80s to start a church, he and my mom understand what it means to take risks. My father-in-law helps lead one of the largest home building companies in the country. So from a business perspective, he was able to help me think through many of the specific challenges ahead with quitting my stable job. They asked questions, they poked and prodded, but above all, they supported us. We didn't feel it was us against the world. It was a good feeling. Granted, we were fortunate to not have crazy parents. If yours fall into that category, disregard everything they say and don't eat the homemade desserts they mail you. The post office is not a magical refrigeration device. That cake is going to be disgusting. One of my younger brothers, Will, also lives in Nashville with his wife, Tiffany. Every time I came to visit, I would stay with them. I love the idea of being in the same city as my brother and having our wives become better friends. I also had friendships with a few people I'd seen around the conference circuit. It's not really a circuit so much as it is a loop, but circuit sounds like we make more money than we really do, so let's go with that. I knew that in Nashville I could connect with my friends, plug into a church, and have a sense of community even though we'd never lived there. Last, but certainly not least, I had the support of the people who read my blog. I know I might never meet most of them face to face. I know that we might not recognize each other on the street, but readers of the blog have been exposed to and helped shape my dream job for years. From the moment I launched the site, I had interaction and encouragement from them. When I do something that feels out of step with the expectations I've set with my writing, they are quick to let me know. Not all of them are concerned about my well-being. One reader suggested I kill myself. A handful of others said I am in fact a horrible person. But the vast majority of my blog readers provide a unique chance for me to say to a group of people, I'm going on an adventure. Want to come with me? The day I announced we had moved to Nashville was one of the biggest traffic days in the blog's history, as hundreds of supportive comments and emails flooded in. The blog was a big part of the reason I was able to even have a shot at my dream, and therefore, it only made sense to include those readers in my support network. Number 5, we were stupid rich. Not really. We were balling on a budget, sitting on whatever size rims a used Sequoia with a third-row seat offers, and checking books out of the library. But we had the money to move and jump to a new job that wouldn't initially pay as well as my old one. We could afford to move. We could pay to put new carpet in our Atlanta home to replace the muted green look the lady before us chose. We could afford to have the entire interior painted so we could sell the house in the middle of a horrible economy. We could afford the first month's rent and security deposit on a rental house in Nashville. We could afford 3 months of temporary health insurance while we waited for my 90-day probationary period to be over. We could do all those things and many more that often come with a big dream and a big move because we had our finances in order. How? 2 things, really. The first is that I hustled on freelance gigs and we had the patience to pay off our bills. We wanted money to fund our dreams, not limit them. And we worked hard to financially remove things that stood in the way. The second big thing was that in 2004, years before I worked for Dave Ramsey, we read his book, The Total Money Makeover. That book dramatically changed the way we looked at money and, unbeknownst to us at the time, allowed us to financially follow our dream years later. Clearly I'm biased about that book, but I don't get any money for recommending it. If I did, I would have mentioned it a few thousand times already and probably had the title sewn into my pants like NASCAR. Nonetheless, I assure you it's a great read and can play a big role in dream pursuit. Number 6, God seemed cool with it. Although God is the wild card and can certainly call you on adventures you can't ignore, we didn't get any handwriting on the wall. I have yet to converse with a burning bush. No prophetic donkeys crossed our paths as we weighed out our decision to leave Atlanta. But through prayer and spending a lot of time wrestling with God on this decision, we felt like this jump was where He was calling us. We didn't try to force God's hand or do the, I just heard a sermon about David and Goliath, so I need to quit my job right this second leap of faith that's so popular in Christian circles. We took our time with the decision, just like another guy in the Bible named Jesus. He spent 30 years in obscurity before he started his adventure. Often we're not willing to spend 30 minutes in preparation, never mind 30 years, especially when we come home from a conference and find our day jobs waiting for us on Monday morning. I'm not sure why Christians sometimes think that the time it'll take us to mature our own missions will be radically shorter than that of Jesus. But it happens. And in the past, I've certainly wanted to take wild, unplanned, possibly not inspired by God leaps of faith. Those are the 6 reasons